Hello, beautiful, wonderful, brilliant people. Welcome to a new episode of Writing Feels Like Love, the Waffle Podcast. I am your host, Sisi Posachola. And you know how it goes. You better get cozy, strap in, let's get comfortable, because I'm about to take you on a ride, baby. Well, not really a ride. We're just going to be chatting about stuff. So, for this week's episode, I'm doing things slightly differently. I know normally I kind of have this thought or this feel in mind that I kind of unpack, and then I open a box with a letter, and hopefully the letter can kind of complement my message. If not, it can derail it. We can unpack that. But essentially, it is I talk about stuff, I open a box with letters, the box with letters kind of influence what I said, and then the episode ends. But this time around, I'm doing things differently because since I moved to Dubai, it has been my season of firsts. I've been doing a lot of firsts for the past 2 years, and I know what I'm about to talk about now is something that I haven't written about before, at least from an experienced point of view or like a commentary point of view. So unfortunately, I will not be opening a box of letters today, my beautiful friends. You're just going to be accompanied by me and my voice. Today, I'll be talking about being foreign. This is a letter to being foreign. I have lived my entire life in South Africa without having the need to feel foreign, because there were a lot of people, well, there was the entire nation that reflected me, and whether it was through my voice, my accent, what have you, I was always surrounded by people who feel like me. And so moving to Dubai, it was a slightly different experience where no, I'm not surrounded by people who feel like me in my context. But in a similar way, all of us feel different enough for us to come together as a community, if you understand what I mean. So it isn't a feeling of being othered, because every other single person is not from this place. So I've always felt comfortable in that. I never felt ostracized. I never felt othered when I moved here. Actually, I even said in my YouTube video, my very, very first video when I moved here, is that I had the softest landing when I came here, because everything is bilingual. I can get by, so I can understand English, even though I don't understand Arabic. The people are so welcoming and so warm that, again, it was the softest landing because I hadn't felt ostracized or felt othered. So great, great, great experience, to a point where obviously I know that this isn't home. It doesn't feel like home. It doesn't have the texture of home. It doesn't have the nuance of home, the people of home. I understand all of those things. But even through that, I could still create a home and a community here, because we all have the same background in terms of we came here to work. But recently, I would say last year, I went on my very, very first solo vacation. I went to Georgia, which is in Eastern Europe. It's a 4 hour flight from Dubai. Again, very easy flight in terms of visas. I don't think I needed a visa. Actually, no, I didn't. I landed there. I felt a little bit profiled when I was at the airport. It was giving, what are you doing here, how long are you going to be here, when are you going home type of vibe. But I've heard that that is actually a common thing with anyone coming from Dubai there. Like even the other people who are not black, they'd be like, yeah, they kind of make you feel like you are intruding. But when I stayed in Georgia, although it was only for a couple of days, like about 4 days, it was such a beautiful experience, because I felt foreign, foreign in a great way, because I kind of became a fly on the wall and just experiencing how the people of that land live. And it was so chilled. It was such a chilled experience. Like, my friend Cindy, who I always talk about on this podcast, she kind of introduced me to traveling and solo traveling. Like I would live vicariously through her travels and through her experiences. And she always loved Europe, like big, big time. And I was like, nah, Africa's Africa's where it's at. Like, I'm good. Like, I get it for you, in terms of, you've experienced it and you've seen it. But for me, I'm like, I'm good with Africa, whatever. Until I actually went and I was like, that's what it was. I kind of understood, through experience, why she loved it so much. I think the thing that I can, name specifically is just the normalcy of it. Like, people are just going about their day. It's safe. Like, they don't care. Kids are out at 11 p.m. Like, it's just how I described it in I don't know where I described. I think I wrote this to myself, or I was actually reflecting to myself about this. But it was kind of refreshing to see people live and just live for themselves. It wasn't. There was no rush. I mean, the city itself, is a very late city, like very similar to Dubai, where it doesn't close at 9 p.m. like South Africa, or like Cape Town specifically. Cape Town, 9, 10 o'clock, restaurants are shut down. I mean, if you're trying to order food at a restaurant at 10, you're late. Like, you can get drinks in a bar, but that'll close at like 12. So I come from a city that kind of sleeps. It has a peak, it has a rush hour, then it has a shutdown. And the thing here in Dubai, there isn't a shutdown. Like, you can get things at 3 a.m. You can order something at 2 a.m. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to go to that one place. Like, you don't have to go to Andicio's to get food because it's the only thing that's open at that time, or McD's or KFC. So here you can get whatever you want. Most places are open until the wee hours. So I'm already used to that life of things being on all the time. So when I went to Georgia, it was also a similar experience where things were always on until very late, which was refreshing. But it wasn't in the same way as Dubai, where in Dubai it feels like it's on because people are still working. Whereas in Georgia, people, I would like walk past a cafe or a bar, whatever, and people are just sitting there with their cigarettes, just smoking, talking. Like, it's opened late because people are living. It isn't because people are working and have to rush to something. It was very slow living at night. And that always fascinated me. I was like, wow, this is life. I really, really love that city or that country. It's such a easygoing country. And there, in terms of feeling foreign, after I left the airport, it wasn't a case of still feeling ostracized by the people there. No, once you're in the street, whatever. You're just part of the locals, I guess. You're just a black local. Another thing that I'd say I really did enjoy about Georgia is, just the people there. I never really interacted with the people like that, but um, it's kind of like they are okay with being perceived and being watched. I'll give this example. There was this one day I went on an excursion. Like, okay, my rewind. My trip wasn't like the perfectly planned trip where I have an itinerary. I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E. I kind of went to Georgia on a whim because I was feeling very stuck about work and life. And I was like, let me just do this for myself. Let me just take this break and actually go outside my comfort zone. And so on one of these days when I was there, I was kind of on an excursion. I was just walking. I just wanted to take public transport, go through the city. And the city that I'm talking about is Tbilisi. That's where I was. Georgia's the country, Tbilisi is the city. So I just wanted to like walk. I didn't want to walk with a purpose because again, even the feel of the space is very much like do as you please, go where the wind takes you, where your heart takes you. And so yeah, one of those days I found myself in a park, and this park was alive, man. Like, it had old folk, it had kids, it had markets, and it was just so ordinary. I was just so amazed at the ordinariness of it all because again, do busy, things are busy, things are, people are hustling, people are working. Like, if you see people who are nonchalant, it's mostly families. But even that, it's because they are there for the kids. Like they need to take their kids outside to touch some grass, they touch some grass, or they jogging. Like there's always a purpose or a reason behind them just being outside, from what I've observed. But there in Tbilisi, it was just like old folk being outside for the sake of being outside. They're catching up with their mates. They are just being. And while I was sitting like on a park bench, I was watching this and they could see me watch them and they were like not even bothered by it. They're like, I can see you watch me and I will watch you see me watch me, if that makes sense. So it was just very nonchalant. Like it was a free flow type of energy. And I would definitely do that again if I just wanted a break to just be, not to necessarily go on an excursion. Cool. Fast forward to my second solo vacation. So now it's no longer a first. But with this vacation, I wanted to be more intentional about it. Yes, how it came about was again very sporadic, and I had a day to plan the whole trip, day and a half to plan and pay for the whole trip. But in terms of the purpose and the intention, I wanted it to feel like a vacation, like a holiday. And as the although Georgia was very lovely in the ordinariness of it all, I still found it valuable to have a plan. So this time around, I was like, yes, this is a sporadic, spontaneous trip, but I need to have a plan. Every day needs to have something accounted for. And because, again, I wasn't there for many days, I think I was there for 4 or 5 days, which is very short, I needed to make the most out of every day. So the next place I went to was Sri Lanka. Oh, pull up in the. She came from Sri. Yeah, Nicki Minaj has two songs referencing Sri Lanka, and that is as far as I know about the country. I didn't know much about it. I have two colleagues that I work with that are from the country, but because it was such a spontaneous thing, I didn't even like check on them and say, "Oh, what can I do?" Da 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 da. It was like, okay, I'm just gonna plan this trip myself, and I will see where I go. So about Sri Lanka specifically, it is such a beautiful island country. It is remarkable. It's so natural. It's so green. And besides that, which I thought that's the reason why I'm going, like, I'm gonna be in a nature thing. I'm gonna have an excursion. Just gonna be me and my thoughts in nature. The thing that really, really, really made me love that trip was the people. Again, I think when I go on holiday, it's about the people. I cannot go to some remote mountain somewhere. I don't think I'll thrive there because there's not much character in that. Like, I come from a country that is so beautiful naturally. Like, you got mountains, oceans, penguins, yeah, you get everything. So, the idea of being in a nature getaway is not really tantalizing for me. Like, I've seen beautiful beaches. Like, I'm okay. Like, show me beautiful people that make those beaches really cool. So that's what that trip became unintentionally. I was like, oh my gosh, the people of this country are so cool. Okay, first thing I noticed when I landed, everyone is very nice. Everyone is very, very nice. You don't feel foreign. First of all, I'm a dark skinned woman. So when I stepped onto the land of Sri Lanka, I was like, I'm with my people because most, if not all, are like dark skinned, tanned, like. So it was like, I'm just blending in, which is perfect, which is absolutely perfect. Like, obviously, they can see I'm foreign because the way I dress and just my mannerisms, my speech, whatever, you can tell that I'm not from there. But I still don't feel like I stand out a lot because there's a lot of backpackers who like trek Sri Lanka. They go through the different parts of Sri Lanka for like 3 weeks and stuff. So you get a lot of tourists who have those bombastic bags, those bombastic camper bags that have your entire life in your bag. There's a lot of those there. So I always feel like, oh, you look so foreign. You look like a tourist. And me and my little suitcase and my little backpack, I look like I'm part of the locals. Like I'm just with the people. And so the people are so friendly, and the language was a huge barrier. But even with that, it is so remarkable what human nature does when you're in need. Like, you don't have to know the language, you don't have to know what to say in order for people to help you. People can gauge via body language or just experience that, oh, this person needs help. Let me try to help them. Let's try to, like, what's this thing? Mime our way to understanding each other, or like, let's do Pictionary. Let me type something, you type something. So there's so many ways to communicate with people, even though you don't know their language. And that is just the beauty of the human race. Like, it's beautiful. So, yeah, the people are amazing. I was there for 4 days. I was in the city, which is Colombo, which is, for me, it was my favorite part of the trip. I know people say, no, you don't have to stay in Colombo for a while. You can just skip it if you want, stay a day and then go to, like, the south if you want, like, beautiful beaches, or go to the north if you want beautiful forestry and stuff. But for me, even though I went to the north, I didn't really go to the south. I know I haven't seen, I only saw um, a teardrop, like a tiny drop of what the country has to offer. But even in that time, I was like super, super happy and fulfilled when I was around people or seeing people just go about their day and stuff. It actually gave me an idea. Let me patent it here. If you see someone come up with this idea, just know that I thought of it first. It's just this idea of just watching people live. So I was thinking, like, even as a travel guide, as a travel experience, you can book to be a passenger princess and just accompany someone doing their errands. I don't know. I feel like that is the best thing, especially if you're in your foreign country. It's amazing because this person will go through so many things. Because actually, it low key in my trip, my one of my excursions, low key ended up being that low key, very very low key. He was still there for me, like, to show me the city and stuff. But he had like one or two things to do. To fix the tuk tuk and stuff. And I was like, this is such a brilliant idea. I just want to accompany you to, like, go fix the tuk tuk and um, have breakfast. Like, it's so easy going and it's so great. So, if travel people are listening, I think having a package of being a passenger princess, that is an untapped market. And if you anyone like me, you just love being in the passenger seat, and you, like, I do the exact same thing with my sister when I'm back home. Like, I just want to go where the wind, where she goes. Like, even if she's going to go fix some stuff for the kids, do this, buy that, I'm there in the passenger with my phone, just taking pictures of myself, or just, like, going along for the ride. So that is an untapped market. Anyway, moving on. Um, where was I even? Oh yeah, so, like, the people are very, very welcoming. They're very kind. They're very helpful. Even though you don't understand the language, even though you look like a sucker, you look like a tourist, I still feel there's a huge part of them just wanting to help and assist without wanting anything back, which was beautiful. So yeah, I went to the city, Colombo. I was with the people. It's more of like the city, so it's a little bit more refined in terms of these nice hotels. When you go inside, not to say there's not nice hotels and they like the nature stuff, but I'm like, take me where the convenience is. I'm so bad. So after being there for like 3 days, this is the point of this podcast, this episode. After being there for like 3 days, I actually had enough. I was so tired, so exhausted of being perceived. Um, every single day since I arrived, I was doing stuff. So I know in terms of physical fatigue, that was playing a huge role with how I was feeling emotionally. But it really got me thinking that, oh, what an exhausting thing it is to constantly be perceived. Like, you can't even do anything. You can't even stand and be on your phone without feeling the eyes of like 8 people just looking at you. It's like, oh my God. Yes, I'm foreign. Yes, I'm black. Yes, I'm in Sri Lanka. Yes, I'm on the same train as you. Can we just move on? Can you just ignore me? Can I just blend in with everyone else? And it's so crazy because I wasn't even doing the most with like those tourist bags that I was telling you about, like with the camper bags. And I'm not a white person. You can definitely see that I'm foreign, but you can't really like tell if I put on glasses and I shape shifter. But you wouldn't tell. You would not tell. You wouldn't tell. But yeah, it was just the pure exhaustion of always being perceived and always being watched and always I feel like this is not even the half of it, but if you are a celebrity, I give props to you because at least, I mean, in my regard, it was just a couple of people watching me because they could see I'm not from there. Cool. After that 3 hour train ride, then they're out of my life, I'm out of their lives, and I'm off to the new thing. But if you're like a prominent public figure, you are being observed constantly. You are being observed constantly. You're being scrutinized, criticized. Whatever move you make is going to make headlines. That must be so exhausting. And it's such an interesting contrast between my two experiences with Georgia and Sri Lanka, where in Georgia, you just had the space to be. You didn't it wasn't performative. You weren't watched or like observed. You were just enjoying the park bench that you were sitting on like anyone else. You were listening to the birds. You were taking a walk. If you were taking a walk, like it wasn't, you could just be. Whereas in Sri Lanka, yes, you could still do everything I just said that you could do in Georgia, but with the added element of eyes. Felt like I was in Big Brother. Guys, it is not healthy to be perceived constantly. I even feel like you perceiving yourself is not healthy. I think we need to banish mirrors. Mirrors are the problem because you should not know so much. You should not know so much about yourself, about things like, oh. Anyway, I'm derailed. So, another thing that I really was fascinating for me because this is my first time traveling alone or just traveling outside of without a purpose or with the purpose of being on vacation. There's just something very interesting about the person you become when you're there. Some people take on a alter ego persona where they're like, yeah, I'm gonna be this person. I'm a famous movie star. I'm a famous singer all the way from Rwanda, whatever. You can just give yourself an entire side plot line, like persona. But outside of that, you can also, as yourself, discover a different form of you. So, what I enjoyed when I was in Sri Lanka, which was again the best trip, was who I was, how I was when I was there. I particularly enjoyed the way that I was taking risks. I was particularly enjoying the way I was not as shy as I normally am when it comes to recording in public and asking people to take pictures of me, and asking people if they can, stand here or whatever. I had declared that trip my audacious trip. I'm going to be my audacious self. I'm going to have the audacity to be cringe. I'm going to have the audacity to be cringe. And that is a blessing that I unintentionally gave myself because even through that, I was able to capture so much secretly, publicly. I was able to capture so much in that trip that it now has a very specific texture to it. It has a very specific soundtrack. I was listening to Mereba's new album. I think it's called The Breeze That Caught Fire. Like so it is such a literal core memory that has feeling and moments. Whereas in Georgia, because it was very loosey goosey, I can't paint it in a specific shade that, oh, it was a bright red type of trip, or it had like, there wasn't really a soundtrack that I can recall. The things that I did were very much like free flow. There wasn't like an intention I didn't have an intention of the trip. I think that's what it is. I wasn't intending to be a different person or to be more confident or to be more audacious. It wasn't a trip where I wanted to see more. I wanted to learn more about the locals, learn their language or whatever. It was a very like, it is what it is, whatever comes shall take me type of trip. And because of that, it didn't have its own show. Like, it didn't have its own title sequence, its own soundtrack, its own texture, its shots. Like, it was like this. Even though it made a huge impact in my life, I can't reference it as much as I do with the Sri Lanka trip, because that one went in with way more intention. I loved who I was when I was there. I loved the people. I loved the food. I loved it. Just had, it was that bright red texture. If I were to condense that entire 4 days into a single color or a brush stroke, it would be a very bold red or orange color. And that was only from 4 days. That wasn't even backpacking through the entire thing and creating more inconveniences. Because I also feel like inconveniences add to character. Inconveniences add to your character. They're like, oh my gosh, this thing didn't work out the way it was supposed to work out, and now I have a story to tell. Whereas if everything is convenient, which again, if I reference back to me living here in Dubai, everything is convenient. I'm never inconvenienced. Like, to the point where there was this one day that someone came to clean in my apartment and all my sheets were dirty. And I was like, flip, I have clean bedding, but I don't have a clean sheet. And I was like, oh, I can just, it was early morning. It was like, what, 8 a.m., 7 a.m. I was like, oh, let me just order a bed sheet. So by the time she comes or by the time she gets to my bedroom, the sheet will arrive. And lo and behold, it arrived. I was so, like, if it didn't arrive, I would be forced to make a plan. Like, okay, should I leave the house? Should I go to the mall? Should I wait till it opens? Okay, if I can't do that, can I tell her that she can? No, there's a lot of problem solving that comes with inconvenience and also creative exploration. And lots of creative exploration, because creativity is not only in the output. I think I've mentioned this before. It's not in the drawing that you make, the photography that you take. It's not just in that, it is in the process, it is in the resolution, in the figuring it out. That is creativity as well. And however way you do that, just makes you creative, even though the output might be a very logical thing, like figuring out where to get a bed sheet at 8 a.m. when you have someone coming in to clean. So um, there's a lot of there's human nature inconvenience. There's also a lot of creativity in inconvenience. And so when I went to these countries, or at least with Sri Lanka, it was not a clean, very put together type of situation where you do and also left room to kind of figure shit out. I tried to do a lot of pre-planning before. So like there's this very famous train, not one train, but if you take the train in Sri Lanka, you'll get the most beautiful views of like these beautiful forest trees, and oh, it's just a beautiful train ride. So there's the very famous one when you're going from Kandy to Elia to Kandy, or Elia to Colombo, whatever. And I didn't have the time because those train rides are like 8 hours long. So I wanted to take a train ride, but I didn't want the 3 hour distance that came with 8 hour distance that came with it. So I just chose the 3 hour distance, which is going from Colombo to Kandy. And I bought the train ticket in Dubai because you can buy it online, and then you go there, and it's also much cheaper that way. Most places will try, or most travel agents will try to sell you on a very, very expensive version of the same thing, just because you're foreign and you don't know any better. So I try to plan as much beforehand. So even with the trips, the little excursions that I was doing, the city tours I was doing, the places I was staying at, the train ride tickets, all of those things had been done before, but only for like one day or 2 days. For the rest of the days, I was like, Sarge, you'll have to figure it out. I did myself. I was like, Sisipo, you'll have to figure it out. You have figured out worse things. Like, you will be able to get yourself from this part to this part within 3 hours before your flight. You'll be good. It's okay. You'll figure it out. And in that space, I think it just gave me so much more confidence to go color outside the lines, to like stand at the edge of the train door as the train is moving and see the beauty of the landscape up front versus through the window, or as I take my head out. So a lot of those things, a lot of those, like leaving it up to myself to figure it out, was also what gave this trip a lot of texture, a lot of um, feelings, a very distinct feeling that I can reference or sometimes tap into when I'm feeling smaller or feeling outside of myself. And this is why traveling is important, and also why traveling is a privilege. I always felt like, oh, I come from the most beautiful country in the world, which I do. I stand 10 toes down on that. South Africa, hands down, the most beautiful country. So it feels like a lot of the things that I see, I compare to my home, and I'm like, it doesn't compare. My home is better. Or like, I've seen mountains before, I've seen forestry before, I've seen oceans before. But it's not necessarily about the things that you see that is the reason why people travel, from my experience, now that I'm a two-time traveler. It is the person that you become. It is the person that you unlock while you're doing all of that. Because home is comfortable, and comfort has a way of keeping you in complacency. So you don't have to change if you don't need to. If your body is very comfortable with where you are in your surroundings, you don't feel the need to strive for more or to see beyond the curtains. Whereas if you're in a foreign place and you are the foreigner, you are constantly alert. You are constantly trying to see beyond the veil because you are not comfortable. You are in a state of motion where you're there to observe and see and experience, and you don't always necessarily do that while sitting on the sidelines. You do that by physically moving your feet and physically moving your bum and physically talking to people to discover more. So that's the beauty. That's the privilege in it. The privilege is you get to discover, you get to rediscover, have a deeper understanding of the way that you operate. I think there's a thing where you can tell if you're going to be with someone, if you travel with them. That's kind of like a good way to decide, oh, this is my person or not my person, or just to see how someone reacts in a foreign situation, in a situation that they weren't prepared for. In solo travel, it's the same thing. Where are you okay with the person that you are, or the character that comes out when you're in a foreign, different situation? That is the question. Actually, I will leave this as a poll question. I wish Spotify and all these streaming platforms had an option for comments so people can engage and stuff. But it's something that I'm very, very curious to know. If you're someone who have traveled, and this is not like, I think also another ignorant thing that I was doing was that I only saw travel when it was beyond a couple of 1,000 kilometers away from home. So I traveled to Mozambique before, or I traveled to Maputo before. And in my head, I always say, it's not really traveling because it's like, what, a 5 hour drive from Johannesburg? What? It's a 2 hour flight or 1 hour flight from Johannesburg. So it's not really travel. You need to change time zones to travel. You need to change something to travel. It's not that. Any travel that you do where you have to step outside familiarity is travel. You have done the thing. It doesn't have to be a trip to Europe or a trip to Thailand for it to feel like a real notable experience. Wherever you go that is unfamiliar is you traveling. And if you have that privilege, if you have experienced that, how different are you when you're traveling versus when you not? Do you see a change in yourself, or is it? And also, what is your purpose for traveling? I know with like vacations and stuff, people are going, trying to have a break from like work and like day to day hassles and stuff, or they want to see more about the place that they're traveling to. So, whatever your reason is, do you feel that you become a different person when you're traveling, when you are foreign, in a foreign setting? Let me know. Drop your messages. I would really, really, really love to know. Anyway, friends, it was an absolute pleasure to sit down and chop this up with you. I really loved this topic because I think it's always good to take note of the things that kind of change your life. Otherwise, it'll feel like the mundane of the day just keeps taking over, and it makes it feel like your life is mundane. But there are glimmers, there are many, many moments where you feel, oh, that thing that I read was really inspiring and I'd like to talk about it, or the thing that someone told me is inspiring, or that trip that you took was kind of inspiring, and you want to kind of make that marking in your own existence and say, oh, this actually meant something to me. So it's really, really good to have these moments where you make that mark. This is me making my mark on my experience of being foreign. And whether I like it or not like it, I think time will tell. I appreciate being foreign. I just don't like being foreign for too long, because that's when it gets uncomfortable. But yeah, it was a beautiful experience. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel like this, just before we leave, you get those Irish goodbyes where the person kind of sneaks away without saying anything. And then you get the black goodbye where you say goodbye in the house, you say goodbye at the door, you say goodbye in the driveway, you say goodbye in the car, you say goodbye as the person drives off. Like, it is an extended, long as goodbye, and I feel like this is one of those things. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me on another fresh popping episode of Writing Feels Like Love, the Waffle Podcast. I will see you next week, same time. Well, not same time, same day. If it's not on a Sunday, it's a Monday, but it'll definitely be every single week. It's you and me. It's this mic. It's this listening session. We are chopping it up. We are letting things flow. We are talking about it. So thank you so much for joining me on this fresh episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.